Christina, and let's talk about the power of habits. So, we're going to talk about habits in lots of different ways, talk about what it is, how it's defined, but also more importantly, how to get started. So, without further ado, let's dive in. So, habits, I absolutely love as somebody who works with people to set big, audacious goals and hit them. Habits have our impact on goals. How we move through our day and spend our time impacts our habits long term. But the question always comes down to what technically is a habit? So, habits really are defined as actions that are triggered automatically. So, this can be typically a response to context clues, visual cues, etc. And an example that I have on the screen, of course, is washing your hands after you use the bathroom. It could also be buckling your seatbelt after you get into a car. There are good habits and bad habits, typically, is how people talk about them. Good habits are behaviors that you want to repeat that have positive consequences. Bad habits are behaviors that you repeat and have typically, of course, negative consequences. So, a bad habit could be that you eat an entire bag of chips every night while you're watching TV or scrolling mindlessly. And a good habit might be that you wake up early in the morning, stretch, drink some water, and go on a run. That could be something that could be considered a good habit. So, when it comes to habits and its impact on goals, what does that really look like? So, habits are really ultimately there to support you and your vision for your life. This is incredibly important to think about within that context because what it can do is that it gives you, habits really give you guardrails and support for you to move forward into the direction that you want to go to hit your big audacious goals that you have for yourself. Habits can give you support for energy management, which we'll talk about in a second if you aren't familiar with that, because energy management can help prioritize caring for self as well as others. Um, Habits also can get you incremental steps toward your goals and make long term goal setting and goal completion a lot easier. So, habits can help you address friction points or roadblocks, as some people call them. They also help you gain momentum on your goals. So let's talk about energy management. When it comes to habits and goals, energy management is something that is one of the key secrets to learning how to hit your goals. We are not able to move forward at 100% all the time. We have this feeling and this thought that it should be the norm, when in actuality, that is the exception over the rule. And energy management is about understanding your mental, emotional, and physical energy levels. For example, a lot of people might wake up in the morning and feel groggy. There might be other people who wake up in the morning and feel energized. They're ready to start their day. That is where they are able to do deep work, do easy tasks, and just start checking off stuff first thing in the morning. You might be a morning person that is more, I want to do work at home in the morning, meaning I'm great at starting laundry, walking the dog, mowing the grass, etc. And so understanding where your energy lies is key, because as we go into planning our days and our weeks and our goals, when we find out when we work best and how we work best, it gives us permission to succeed. So, what does that look like in execution with energy management? Energy management, it basically can show you, if I want to say be in 5K or 10K running shape. And I know that in the morning, I am not a morning person. My energy is low, my attitude and mood are low. Setting goals of getting up at 5 a.m. when I'm usually up around 8 and at work by 9, probably not the best to start out with. Instead, it could look like, what would it look like to make exercise easier and more accessible for me as I go into getting into 5 or 10K shape? That could mean, what does it look like exercising or walking at lunchtime? What needs to be true for me to start exercising after work? Would going to a gym be something that I could do? So, learning about how your energy flows during the day, and also how your energy is drained. I worked with a client one time who was really learning about energy management. They were always drained by Thursday. And they were like, I want to not feel so drained Thursday morning. Looking at their energy tracker, which is something that I do have a copy of. It's a simple spreadsheet. You could do one on your own, have the date, high, medium, low energy, and then a note section to provide these details. But looking at their energy tracker, Wednesday, they always had very high energy, which that's because they have a lot of client facing conversations. It's a great day. They enjoy those conversations, but that drains them the next day. So what they were doing is any meeting that had a conflict or needed to be rescheduled, she was rescheduling it for Thursday morning, but she was drained by that point. So what we did instead is like, okay, instead of Thursday morning being backup scheduling time, what does Thursday afternoon or Friday morning look like? So that you have time for recovery, so you can really service your clients in the best way possible. So energy management is learning about how your energy flows, what drains it, what elevates it, and ultimately how to work with it so that you're not feeling like you are a failure if you're having a low energy day and maybe you're not able to complete that exercise routine as you usually have, or maybe moving through the day is just a challenge. So, the next secret sauce item that I wanted to share with you is habits and building systems. So, this, if you are somebody that was in corporate like me, is something you might give an eye roll to. And I'm here to tell you that this is the best way to release your mental load and cognitive functioning that you have to do moving through your day. We don't have to make moving through our days difficult. What does this look like? So systems and processes are a great way to move through tasks, either personal or professional. So you can do these things at home too. Doesn't necessarily just have to be work. So you don't have to rely on your executive functioning in your frontal lobe, which is where our decision making happens, where our impulsivity is controlled. So many things happen in our frontal lobe. And if you ever have had a day where you are tired after making a lot of decisions, maybe especially at work, but anytime you are managing kids or really anything, building a home, designing it, whatever, you might be overloaded with decision fatigue. So, when you build systems and processes to make it easier on yourself, that reduces overwhelm. You know where to start, you know roughly what the outcome can look like, and long term, it can really help you when you experience roadblocks or what I call friction points. So, with these benefits of building systems and processes, you can make it easier as you move through the world. And this is critical for goal setting because it'll give you more mental space, more energy that you can dedicate to your goals that require more energy long term. So, what does building a system and process look like? Say you are going to be implementing that you want to scroll less at night. And maybe you got into the habit and you just are not breaking free of it as you would like to. So, what you're going to do is you're going to establish where you can and maybe not have your phone, but you're going to make a process for it. When you get home, maybe you immediately put it on the charger, and the charger's in a place where you can't just sit and scroll. It's high up on a bookshelf and or in a hallway plug, places where it's not as convenient. So that is a system and a process that you put in place so you know where your phone goes and you maybe don't see it initially, and maybe you also put it on home mode, which is a mode that you can put on for iPhones, and I believe also Android has a version of that too. So that is a system and a process that you have in place to make it so a phone is not as accessible and not as easy to reach for when you're moving about your home in the evening. You can also put your phone across the room so it's not next to your bed to plug in. This is something that I have to do every now and then if my scrolling gets away from me. And every now and then it migrates back to my bed and then I have to move it again. That's okay because I have a system in place where I know what I need to do next. So that is an important part of implementing habits so you can reach your goals. Where do you start? So I highly encourage you, especially if you're a part of the habit challenge that is going on, or if you are working toward implementing new habits, identify where in your day this habit is that you would like to break or change. I always want to encourage you to move away. We talked about bad and good habits. Let's rephrase that and come up with and focus on is this aligned with my goals or is this unaligned? So if you have a habit that is not aligned with your ideal life and the direction that you want to go, that is something worth investigating. So what I want you to do, if you have a habit like the example I had on the last slide about you want to move out of scrolling in the evening, the best next step would be identifying where, and so we've got the evening, that this habit is taking place. From there, outline what the ideal looks like. Maybe you want to spend more time with your kiddo. Maybe you want to spend another hour of it working on your business. Maybe you want to dedicate that time where you come home to movement, intentional movement, and house chores so that you can feel good being in your space. Identify what that ideal could look like. We're not looking for perfection here. We're looking for your own ideal, not what you think other people on Instagram or TikTok might feel like is an ideal, but your own. From there, what I want you to do is identify what you're already doing in those routines. Are there things that you're already doing within your ideal? And I want you to think about this from a small and a large level too. If your ideal is you would get home at 5:15, you'd take your dog for a walk, you'd start dinner, eat dinner early, and then you would take some time to play some video games for about 45 minutes with your friends online. Maybe you're already doing some of those steps, like you're coming home, you're starting dinner, and you are playing video games, but maybe you are not eating the type of dinner you would like to be, and you would like to add additional nutrition to it. So you're already hitting some of those spots in your ideal, and now you know exactly where to plug in to say, okay, so I need to make it easier and more accessible for me to have nutrient dense food for dinner versus a ham sandwich and a bag of chips. What would that look like? What would need to be true for me to get to that point, for me to give myself the nutrients that I deserve? So, and then from there, the last thing is you're going to identify one new item to layer into your current routine to move toward your ideal. You're going to do this one at a time. So that is where I would start. That is what I recommend. And let me know in the comments, or you can put it in the chat on where you are in this process. If you're a part of the habit competition, you're watching the recording, please put the top one or two things that you've learned or where you would like to start. And so once you enter that, I will know that you watched the video, and that'll be a part of entering and completing your task for the week. And let me know your one item that you're going to update this week to move toward your ideal change in the habit that you want to build. So yeah, otherwise shoot me an email if you've got questions. I love talking about habits and goal setting, so I'm excited to talk more about it if you've got questions along the way. Have a good one.